We're on. Okay, welcome back, everybody. I am here. I'm Debbie G, and I'm here again with my friends Simone and Dorothy.
Oh, like, are you the sister to Kenny G, or?
I just figure it's a lot easier to remember Debbie G than Debbie Gisoni.
Very cute. It's very cute.
It's my new podcast name, I guess. I don't know.
Good.
Anyway,
Debbie
Dorothy
G.
Cayo, wave. Dorothy, hello. Hi, how you doing?
It's me again.
Yeah. And Dorothy and Simone are creators of two ancient semi-enlightened broads. That's a big mouthful to say. I almost have to have it written down in front of me. Welcome back. And we're going to get right into the conversation.
On life.
Excuse me?
Don't forget the schmooze on life.
And schmoozing on life, which is what we're doing, just schmoozing on life, right? But I want to go from life to love, which is what life is all about, right? I kind of feel like that Foreigner song, you know, that song from, I don't know, the 80s or 90s. I want to know what love is. I want you to show me. I know I won't quit I won't quit my day job, which I don't have anyway. But anyway, how do we know love? What is love to you? Simone, you want to start?
Well, recently, I mean, I see it in my dog's eyes. That's one of the strongest versions of love for me. I think it's when that feeling of, it's a feeling of being, for me, being spellbound by a beautiful energy that is so healing in the moment. So I would say that love is about compassion and forgiveness and all those wonderful things. But then I was watching the news a little bit, and not a little bit, a lot, but it was so moving to me to see love for people of color and what that was looking like. That's another form of love. And when people stand up for each other, or for animals or the planet or whatever. To me, that's the kind of love I'm really interested in now. It used to be romantic love. It used to be maybe even sexuality and all that, all the other stuff. But now it seems to be, as I get more ancient, it goes into oneness, that kind of love.
It feels like, and I love your description of it. It feels to me like what you're saying, and what I believe too, is it's being in service to humanity, and being one with humanity.
With every living thing, for me. It's
right.
Not just it's everything that breathes.
How about you, Dottie?
When you get alive.
Isn't that part of the contract?
Yeah.
When we were talking before about contracts, to me, love is all there is.
A Beatles song. Shall we all sing?
But
all you need is love.
it is the energy that we are. It's what we come in on. It's the energy with which we were created in the first place, from my point of view. And I think that I can only speak for myself, but when I see a display of love, between two people, and it can be something very subtle, brings tears to my eyes. I feel it in my very heart.
Yes.
And so many times when we see a display of affection or love or caring, how many times people will be tearing up because that's there. To me, that's because it triggers the truth of us. Mm-hmm. To me, that's the true identity of us. And when we see it and it's displayed, it affects the human condition with emotion.
That's very well put.
That comes to me too. When I see performances, when people are in their passion and performing on stage or singing and dancing, that brings tears to my eyes, because I feel like they are in their loving self doing what they were born to do. And it affects me so deeply. So I understand. And I also love how you say it's who we are. It's what we are. It's what we were created for. We are all love. Light is love. And I think for so many people, if they just understood that one little piece, their life would be so much easier. And I talk
Well,
about self-love a lot. And that's one, I think one of the most important lessons we're here to learn is self-love, because once you know who you are, that you really are love, then you can love yourself. Dorothy, I interrupted you. Sorry.
no, it's absolutely fine. I think, and when we go against that, when we go against who we really are, then um, we'll pay the price one way or another, somewhere along the way, and so will everyone else around us.
That's when we suffer, and that's when the world suffers, right?
That's right.
Simone, did you have something to say on that?
No, I was just thinking that my happiest moments of every day is at night when I'm in bed and I go into love. I say, I am a child of God. I'm in the body of God right now. Everything else is leaving my space. And I'm going to just be the energy of love. And it's just the most profound, it's just totally connected to the source of everything. And there's nothing to say, there's nothing to do, there's no agenda, there's nothing. I just, it's so free. So
I love that you say it's connected to the source of everything, because self-love, you think of that as kind of the micro version, but when you really expand that, it's the macro. It is connected to everything. It is connected to the world. And and it's connected to loving life every day. What advice would you give for people that really want to be in that space, that really want to love life? What I'm Italian, I call it la dolce vita. It's just kind of squeezing the juiciest part of every moment of every day, right? And this is my juiciest part today with you two. I love being here with you two. But what advice would you give to people to try to do that in their own lives?
You talking to me? Or Dorothy?
Whatever, yeah. Why don't go ahead?
What advice? Well, I think the first thing is you have to realize and remember and allow your heart to feel that everything's alive. Everything around you is alive and breathing and in a state of love and breathing right along with you. The flowers, the sky, it's like Thich Nhat Hanh says, you hold an apple in your hand, you hold the sky, the sun, the earth, the hands of the person who picked that apple. When you take a bite, you're taking a bite of all of it. And so all of it is out here and all of it is in here. And that's how, I try to remember as I go through my day, if I miss someone, I've had recently a couple of people that have passed over, I know that they're in everything. They must be, because we're all a part of that web. That body of God.
That's beautiful.
So that helps me a lot. The other thing is to not be at the effect of the world, and in other words, go back into your observing mind and your noticing mind versus the reacting mind. It gets so attached. If I turn on, Rachel Maddow, for instance, and because she's so good and clear and truthful, but also very dramatic. I can get hooked into her energy in a second, and then I have to pull back and say, nope, not for your adrenals, babe, get back. And so then I have to sit back and watch it like I'm watching a movie. I'm noticing it. I care. I have compassion for it, but I can't I can't absorb it, is what I'm trying to say. I think that's one way to stay with love and to have more love, is to love it, but don't absorb it.
Dorothy, how about you?
Well, the empath, unless that empath has consciousness, is going to absorb all of that. And as human beings, we're sort of, just out there, not always being conscious. And for me, if I have a little ritual I do in the morning, and what I'm really doing is just surrendering to the highest, whatever. I know what that means for me, but other people would have their own idea about that. But I want to be guided by the highest, and for me, that's pure love energy. That's divine intelligence, however you want to look at that. And if I'm working with a client, I will invite them to become aware of the light within themselves and be guided by that. Be open to be guided by that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes
That's my
people,
story. I'm sticking to it.
right, and that's, it's hard to do. I mean, it's a simple concept to say, but not many people, until you find that light, until you know that light exists, it's hard to be guided by it. And I love having love, what you said, having love be your guide. And I like to get up and say, let me be my best self, my best Debbie G self today,
Beautiful.
and
Beautiful.
leave it at that. Simone, you had mentioned when we were talking about love just a second ago that you mentioned your dog, and I'm a big animal lover. I know you are. I know Dorothy is as well. And I think that our animals are they're such great teachers for us. And I know in many traditions like shamanism and in ancient meditation traditions and whatnot, that spirit animals are brought in as a way to guide us and to help us. Can you, either one of you, talk a little bit about spirit animals and how they can help us?
Well, I'll start. When I first began, when I was a very little child, I was aware that I had a baby cobra wrapped around my right ankle, and that I probably had come in with it. But when I was around 2 or 3, I remember looking down and not in this realm, in the next realm out, where spirit animals convene to bring their medicine to you, and it was just looking up at me. And I wasn't afraid at all. I just thought, wow, that's pretty cute. And I feel safe.
Most people wouldn't think a cobra would be cute, but
no, it was absolutely the most gentle being, most beautiful eyes. And throughout my life, I've had many, many animals in this world, but also I've worked with a tiger named Tiwa for, I don't know, for 25 years now, 30 years now. He was the main character in The Goddess of Fifth Avenue. And so one of my greatest pleasures, I think because I came in so interested in the Native American ways and Native American philosophy, and I felt closest to their reverence of the earth, that I wanted to really develop that aspect of myself that could feel them around me, feel them around others. So in my 30s and late 30s, when I really got into hypnotherapy, and I knew I could take people on these shamanic journeys, and journeys like Dorothy does, so that they could see and be comfortable with, and give them permission to operate out of those zones, out of their deep intuition and out of their deep knowing, versus just the analytical mind, or the mind that has taught us what's okay to be and what's okay to see and what's okay, where it's okay to go.
right.
So I love, and still love to this day, it's one of my favorite things when I'm taking people out to meet their guides and teachers, to ask them to put out the call for the animals that want to come toward them, that have something to teach them or some medicine to bring them. And always, without a doubt, it's the best part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
There's something that's transmitted through the innocence, and through whether they're coming to bring stamina or ferocity or kindness. Or I remember, this is just a short story, but I remember years ago, Jan Venturini and I were teaching in Sedona, and it was 2 of us, and we were all these medical doctors had signed up for this huge workshop. We didn't know what we were doing. And so we're out there and we're in this medicine wheel, and we brought in this beautiful Native American woman who was teaching. And then it was time to pull a medicine card, which are these cards that have animal pictures on them, and a great writing by Jamie Sams. And so everybody pulled a card, and people were getting the tiger and, the mountain lion and the eagle and all of these really big energy cards. And Jan pulls a card and I pull a card, and she looks at me and I look at her, and somehow someone had put 2 of the same cards in the deck, and it was the ant. And we looked at each other, and our egos were like, oh my God. Now we have to tell everybody that their leaders are the 2 ants in the group. Not knowing at that time that it was perfect, because ants are the organizers. They bring in the organizing energy of producing and making things happen. But our shame was, and our egos, she would laugh with me now about it. She's one of the great people in the world. And I learned so much from that moment. Each animal, whether it's the skunk or whether it's the eagle, has a really profound reason for showing up. And the more you learn about it, the more fascinating it gets. So it's really a wonderful way to open to the animal aspects of yourself.
Right.
So we stop judging animals the way we do.
Dorothy, as Simone said, a lot of times animals and guides and whatnot come up in hypnotherapy sessions. When I was at your school, I know that happened a lot when we were doing inductions with people. What do you counsel your clients in terms of being open to meeting these different entities and spirits and animals and whatnot when they come into hypnotherapy, and how do you get them to trust that process and learn from it?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't work with someone on that level unless they were open to it and their consciousness allowed that. I wouldn't try to force that on someone who wasn't, open to it. But I do find that when we're open to that spiritual realm, whether that's from the angelic presence or guides or animal guides, if we're just open to that, then our minds are able to take things in a very different way. And there's a guidance that happens when we're just open to possibilities that perhaps we hadn't been open to before. And for most people, when they are doing, I won't say that every human being who comes in for hypnotherapy is coming in for that. Certainly not. Sometimes it's, well, let's just say it's other things. And,
well, actually, no. Let's leverage off that point. Because I think people sometimes have just one viewpoint of what hypnotherapy is about, but hypnotherapy can help in so many areas in life. And
absolutely.
can you talk about some of the ways, like even past life regression or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. Hypnosis is just a word, but it is really a way to let's identify ourselves in a much broader scheme of things. We're not just, almost spilled my tea. We're not just this human element. We are so many other things. We are physical, we're mental, we're emotional, we're spiritual, we're all of these things. And so when someone is coming in for hypnosis, they're coming in for anything on any of those levels. And sometimes it's just a moment in time when someone who has never even considered past lives, something happens in a hypnotherapy session, and they have some memory that comes up that doesn't belong to this lifetime. And it is a moment that I love because it is a moment of an expanded consciousness, and people are just saying, oh my God, I had no idea. If I've heard that statement once, I've heard it 100,000 times. And so hypnosis is just a state of being in which there's a oneness mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and the subconscious is all part of that, and change and perceptions can shift in like that. And it's such a healing.
Right. And it's
I think
also,
it's so great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Simone.
No, I was just going to say, and I think it's so great that Dorothy, you and I have the opportunity to help people, give them permission to make that okay.
I agree.
Because I don't know how much you've run up against this, but because people come to see me for that stuff because I'm a medium, so they expect it's going to be all kinds of different experiences, and that's what they're looking for. For you, they're coming for clinical help and help with all kinds of issues that are psychological or physically oriented. But it's such a joy when people go, just like what you just said. It's like, oh my God, if I hadn't seen it myself, I never would have believed it. It's the best feeling in the world.
Because you're helping someone, and that is
absolutely.
That's a
but
great
also
feeling.
Because I've been trying to make it okay for people pretty much since I've been alive, these realms. And it's been a lot of work, to tell you the truth. I mean, being called a psychic and a woo-woo and blah, 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 when really indigenous people have been working with these energies forever.
And yeah, there's an interesting thing though that happens. And when I stopped trying to educate people about how life really is, and and let them, and just let people come when they're ready, then my life became a whole lot easier.
Yeah.
Well, the two of you, I would say the two of you are probably two people in my life where I feel like you have the most calming presence. And part of that is the spiritual practice that you are, you know, who you are, and the spiritual practice you do, and how you help other people, and the hypnotherapy and the meditation. And this is a time, I mean, we're all in separate areas right now because of the pandemic and whatnot. And this is a time where people feel like they've been quieted down, but in fact, they haven't been quieted. Their minds are going and they're looking for projects to do. And they're looking for, you know, 5 o'clock Zoom calls to be on for cocktails or whatever. But what we really need is some real true quiet. How would you, what advice would you give, or how would you say to someone who really wants to get there, wants to be a little bit more quiet, wants to go within, but hasn't yet figured out how to do that, how to be with themselves? Simone, you want to start?
Well, you know, I've been restless my whole life, even though that's one of the reasons I chose the field that I'm in as far as meditation, because it, quote, forced me in the beginning to try some of these things out. I mean, I was led to it and it was very fascinating and it was different from where I was before that. But I had so much nervous stuff and being very vata and all that my whole life. I needed to find something. So
I was actually the same way as you growing up. My father used to say he'd give me a nickel if I just stopped moving. You know, when I was really little, I just could never stop moving.
Yeah. So, you know, I think, you know, there's people often say to me, I can't sit like that. I can't just sit and close my eyes and blah, blah. So I say, get up. Let's do walking meditation. Let's go out into nature. Let's, you know, with this wonderful thing, tree bathing, where you go and you put your spine and your nervous system against the trees. Let's go swimming. Let's be in water, because water is one of the most wonderful ways to, you know, really feel a part of things. Let's go into gratitude. Let's take a few moments and just be in gratitude. What comes up for you that you have gratitude for, and expand that. And I find the more we expand the gratitude piece, the more we quiet down. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's because we feel safe. I'm not sure. I think it's because we feel loved. Mm-hmm. But we have to find that channel.
Yeah. I think too that helping someone do that is helping them become more mindful.
Yes.
And also, if I have a client who says, "Oh, I can't sit for even 5 minutes to just quietly," and then I will say, "Could you sit?"
Oops.
Could you sit for at least 1 minute, just 1 minute, and contemplate gratitude, or think about a beautiful red rose and only focus on the beautiful red rose for 1 minute. And when they can do that for 1 minute, I give them the homework of, that's all I want you to do for 1 week, just for 1 minute. And the next week, I want you to do it for 2.
It's great.
And then it expands and expands and expands until people who think they can't are now meditating for 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, and it isn't a big ordeal.
I love that approach. It's just baby steps, because and as you said, Simone, too, people think meditation is just, oh, I can't sit for an hour and meditate, so I'm not even going to try. But meditation could be lots of different things. It could be listening to music. It's just getting out of your mind, getting out of the monkey mind we're all in.
It's getting into the flow. You know, you're a great cook. I'm sure when you're cooking, you're flowing. You're in that whole oneness of everything.
I'm flowing, I'm flowing, I'm dancing, and I'm cooking, and I'm listening to music at the same time. And it's extremely meditative.
It's like a symphonic dining meditation when you go to your house. It's amazing.
And the other part is her food is delicious because look at what she's put in it.
That's right.
It's that love, it's that music, it's that dancing, it's that you.
And gratitude.
It's
Right.
beautiful.
Gratitude that is, boy, you can taste it. I often say that's the best dressing I will ever eat in my life. That's the best stuff.
My Thanksgiving Sicilian rice
Oh
dressing.
my God. Best thing I ever tasted in my life, because it's filled with love, like Dot said.
Mhm.
Well, we
love.
started the session with love. We're going to end with love now. Let me ask you, we have a couple of more minutes. What's the best way that our viewers can connect with either one of you or see the show? What would you like them to do if they say, you know what, I like these two ancient semi-enlightened broads. I want to get more of them. What do they do?
Go to YouTube. Go to our channel on YouTube for two ancient semi-enlightened broads schmoozing on life and beyond. We have how many segments up, Dot? What do we have? 7?
At least, yes.
7 right now, but by the time you see this, we're having the time of our life. We're having a great time, and you can subscribe. And we're talking about everything you can imagine, from metaphysics and spirituality to hypnotherapy to everyday life to issues of women and aging and you name it, health.
And you can also find us on Instagram.
Right, we're on Instagram, and we both have. I have www.carolsimone.com. That's my author's name. And Dorothy, your website is at
PASOH.com, paso.com,
And
Palo Alto School of Therapy.
Palo Alto School of Hypnotherapy. And do you both do private one-on-one sessions as well?
Yes.
I'm doing one-on-ones, and I'm teaching a private apprenticeship for individuals too that I really love. And
Okay.
yeah.
So
And
they
I
can
do
contact you through your websites then.
They can.
Great,
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you, ladies. This has been wonderful. In
Debbie,
such
thank you.
gratitude. The highlight of my day, the juiciest part.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you.
We're going to end now. We'll see you
Delightful.
back soon. Enjoy.
Take care
All
now.
right.
Bye.
Bye.